Before we go any farther though, I'm going to lay out two scenarios for you guys. One of those being a scenario where I think this could work out really great for Ohio State, and the other one being a scenario where I don't think it's going to work out great for Ohio State. You know what they say, opposites tend to attract, but to a certain extent here I would disagree with that statement. Hold on. I gotta start the video by saying this. What in the world is going on with Ohio State on this random Friday afternoon? And I do apologize for being a little bit late to this news because when I first originally saw this, I thought it was fake. But come to find out, no, it's 100% true. And there's a lot of things to this that we gotta touch on because it's a much bigger situation than Bill O'Brien leaving Ohio State. And I guess if you haven't heard the news by now, I just spoiled that for you. Yes, Bill O'Brien, who just took the offensive coordinator job at Ohio State only about a month ago, he is leaving. And it's been trending all over Twitter for obvious reasons because 99% of football fans in general, they do not like Bill O'Brien. I'm not going to sit up here and say I like Bill O'Brien, but I don't have a problem with him, and I've stated this on the channel. I thought he was going to do a good job with Ohio State. Although he doesn't have the greatest track history with the Patriots in the most recent season, and then dating back to the Texans, don't even get me started on that. At Alabama, when he was offensive coordinator, I thought he did a good job. I always thought Alabama fans used Bill O'Brien as a scapegoat that season because what I stated was the real problem with that Alabama team was Pete Golden, the defensive coordinator. And that's a different conversation for a different day, and maybe later in this video we'll jump back to that. And by the way, we're not doing no intro, none of that. I don't got time to waste, you don't got time to waste either. We're getting straight into it because this is big time breaking news. I'll show it to you right here to give you the official report. Bill O'Brien is said to become the next Boston College head coach. Therefore, he is leaving the offensive coordinator position at Ohio State. And you already know what everybody in the comments are saying, stuff like this. Ohio State dodged a bullet. And yet again, I'm going to go back to this. I'm not advocating for Bill O'Brien, but I don't think he's as bad as a lot of people make him out to seem. And it doesn't even matter what Ohio State fans thought about Bill O'Brien because at this point in time, it's irrelevant because he's no longer there. Now we got to shift our focus to this. If Bill O'Brien's leaving, who's going to be the new offensive coordinator? Because at Ohio State, that's a pretty big deal because let's just say their offense last year, it wasn't the strong suit of the team. It was very unfortunate for Ohio State. The 1 year you have a really good defense, it's also the same year your offense isn't up to standards. And as we all know, Ohio State has a new transfer quarterback coming in Will Howard, so there's a lot of question marks. And oh yeah, by the way, let me throw this in here real briefly here. As far as it goes for Bill O'Brien heading to Boston College, wishing him the best of luck and hope he succeeds, but there's not too much to say there. Boston College isn't some big-time powerhouse. As long as Bill O'Brien goes 6-6 next year, he'll probably retain his job. It's Boston College, and I'm sure we got some BC fans out there, but I'm not going to sit up here and act like there's some powerhouse in the college football world because they're not. What we care about and what we're here to talk about is Ohio State and what's next for them. And Ohio State wasted no time whatsoever. A few hours ago, as when I'm speaking and making this video, Ohio State broke the news that they're hiring Chip Kelly. This right here is really interesting because this is the definition of a splash in the pan hire. If you are familiar with college football to the slightest of bits, you know who Chip Kelly is. Very popular name in the college football world. And for me at least, when I think of Chip Kelly, I think of Oregon and all the success he had there. I know he had some decent seasons at UCLA, but when I think of Chip Kelly, I always think of Oregon first. And to go along with that, when I hear Chip Kelly's name as well, I immediately turn my focus to offense. This right here, Ohio State getting Chip Kelly, I'm just going to come out and give you a grade for it. I'm grading this as a, we'll give it an A. I'll say this is an A higher. I really think Ohio State's going to benefit from Chip Kelly and his schemes and whatnot. And also, you got to remember this. Ohio State might get back to running the ball a little bit more with the quarterback because Chip Kelly, he likes doing that in his offensive system. If I was an Ohio State fan, which I'm not, by the way, I'd be feeling pretty ecstatic about this news. And I think Ohio State fans much rather have Chip Kelly than Bill O'Brien at that. And that's rare for you to lose an offensive coordinator and people to be more pleased with the new coordinator you're bringing in. I tell you this much, I don't know if any Ohio State fan out there is going to say it's a downgrade by getting Chip Kelly. No way. Getting Chip Kelly as an offensive coordinator is about as good as it's going to get, and it almost seemed like this was the dream scenario. I mean, don't get me wrong, you never want to lose an offensive coordinator, but if you do happen to lose one and you can bring in a guy like Chip Kelly, it doesn't get too much better than that. And when you think about it, this offseason for Ohio State, it has been nothing but non-stop great news after great news after great news. Before we go any farther though, I'm going to lay out two scenarios for you guys. One of those being a scenario where I think this could work out really great for Ohio State, and the other one being a scenario where I don't think it's going to work out great for Ohio State. We'll start out why I think it could be great. Chip Kelly, like I said, great offensive mind, great offensive head coach, and he brings in a new perspective, new insight, and really a new offense to Ohio State. You're getting a West Coast guy, and to make a long story short here, you're getting a fresh look. You're going to see some formations next year and plays that Ohio State has never even dreamed of doing in the past 10 years combined. And I think this could turn out really great for Ohio State, confuse a lot of defenses, and everybody has a hard time stopping them. That's the great scenario. Now, of course, with the good, we got to talk about the bad. The bad scenario is you do bring in this West Coast guy, this new insight, new perspective, and it's just you're butting heads nonstop. You know what they say, opposites tend to attract, but to a certain extent here, I would disagree with that statement. You could also see a case and scenario where Ryan Day wants more of your traditional offense and not all these crazy plays, but Chip Kelly, he wants to do all those crazy plays. Well, you got to find the middle ground somewhere, don't you? That's where things get a little tricky and questionable because it's going to be hard to find that middle ground. It's much easier said than done. For example, let's say it's 3rd and 1. Well, when I think of a Ryan Day coach Ohio State team, on 3rd and 1, they are running the ball 99% of the time. And when I say run the ball, let me clarify on that even more. They're running it straight up the middle. Ryan Day doesn't like to get too fancy, but on 3rd and 1, Chip Kelly, he may try to do a bootleg with the quarterbacks and play action, may try to do a reverse, you never know. There's one thing for sure, he is going to keep the defense on their heels, and when it works, we label him as a genius, but if it's 3rd and 1 and you do a reverse or you do some crazy play and you lose 4 yards, that's when we start to say, okay, this guy needs to be fired. And yet again, let me throw this in here. I'm talking about worst case scenario. This could go one or two ways. And if you want my honest opinion on how I think it's going to go, I think they're going to work on their differences and everything's going to be a-okay. This happens all the time. When you get a new offensive coordinator, him and the head coach, yeah, they're going to butt heads, but they also work it out. But I do believe in those first 3 to 4, maybe even 5 games, there's going to be some questionable play calls that the fans don't agree with, maybe Ryan Day doesn't agree with. And I'll use Alabama as an example. We dealt with that problem this year with Tommy Rees. But guess what? As Tommy Rees got more comfortable with the quarterback, him and Nick Saban got used to each other, it all worked out in the end. And another thing I really like about Chip Kelly, and this is an underrated part about him and his offense, is they love to run the ball. Or not they, but he loves to call run plays. Chip Kelly loves utilizing his running backs out of the backfield and just straight up handing it off to them. So I don't think you're going to see some pass-heavy offense at Ohio State. No. Especially with Will Howard being the quarterback. If anything, I'd argue and say if you're Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, this is music to your ears. Because Bill O'Brien showed this at Alabama. If you have a great quarterback, he'll pass the ball 50 times a game, even if you have a Jahmyr Gibbs. Definitely something to keep your eyes on heading into next season. As far as it goes for, okay, Chip Kelly goes to Ohio State, right? Well, now, UCLA, the domino effect here, they don't have a head coach. What are they going to do? I'm not even going to sit up here and talk about it because I have no idea. They got to figure something out. I don't know anything about it. I haven't heard anything about it, so I don't even feel qualified to talk about it. I tell you this much, though. I'm going to keep you guys updated. Let me know your thoughts down below. But